now I've had the discussions, and we also then the other critical issue is the consolidation of your financial obligation. By the time you retire, really, you shouldn't be paying a home loan. It just doesn't make sense. Because like I said, once again, you are on a fixed income. Now, can you imagine you're on a fixed income, then you must still pay a home loan. So make sure that your home loan, your home is paid up, so that you don't have any home loan debts. So what we did as a family, long before, we were very clear that by the time I get to retirement age, it needs to be paid up. So paying more before you retire and really pinching, it makes sense, because then that sense of calm of, oh my goodness, my house is paid up. If I don't have anything else, I still have my home, because whether I eat or I don't eat, at least I have a bed to sleep in. I've got a comfortable home to live in. It's paid up. So that's what we did before retirement. Pay up, make sure that your home loan is paid up. Together with your home loan is that make sure that you've done your renovations in your home. You can't be then putting a new kitchen when you've retired, because that's an expensive item. So all renovations that go with your home, whether it is, like I said, you renovate by putting in a new kitchen and new bathrooms, or whatever it is that you want to renovate, make sure you do that before you retire, as part of making sure that your home is comfortable. So we did all of that. However, as much as you do all of that, something will happen. In our case, for example, as we thought, now we're done with all of this, the boundary wall fell off. And it's like, oh my goodness, you thought you had done all the planning, and something just totally unexpected happened. Now you have to fix the boundary wall. Which then also takes me back to the discussion with the financial advisor. One of the critical things that he had said was that make sure you have an emergency fund. Start building up an emergency fund. This you don't even have to do 2 years before. You need to do it a long way before, because as soon as that boundary wall fell off, you know that you can access from your emergency fund to fix the wall, because your neighbors are going to be coming back to you, gonna come to you and say the wall needs to be fixed. You can't then be saying, well, what do we do? You need to make sure that you tap into your emergency fund for those unexpected costs that will come, and you are able. It doesn't create more anxiety. So that helped. Another issue in terms of managing the financial obligations, your car payments. Also made sure that the cars are paid up. Same process, making sure that if the financial institutions will say to you, you've got 5 years to get your car paid up. No, I didn't want to take 5 years to pay the car. I've made sure that this car needed to be paid up within 3 years. So if it meant doubling the payments and paying it, that's what we did. Or you put your money in reserve, then when it comes to settlement, you've got the money to settle your car payment. Because I think those are the issues that financially that really makes that take up money. And what we also did is that to make sure that you bought the car 5 years before the time, because you don't want to buy a car in a year and then you have to double up the payments because you need to finish paying it off. Buy the right car at the right price, and make sure that you pay it up. What we also did in terms of the car payments as well, in terms of the car, was, look, you might be driving this particular brand because you enjoy it, but the reality is that when you do retire, then are you going to be able to keep up with the payments? If your brand is going to require a lot of money to maintain and to really just keep running, you might also just consider that I need to what's the word? come down and buy less expensive, because you want to make sure that you maintain the service and all the other matters that go with all of those. So for me, those were the two important issues: make sure that the car is paid up, and also make sure that we don't have a home loan. And then another issue, your medical aid. All of us professionals know that one of the biggest costs that we have to live with, particularly in our country, is medical aid. There is no way that you're going to go from having a medical aid to not having any. Similar process, went through the medical aid and looked at the plan that made sense. Basically downgrading the medical aid to make sure that we can afford the payments. So went through all the various options, made sure, for example, that if I was on a restricted plan, then if I had to be in an accident, which is the nearest hospital that I was going to go through. So it's literally going through the plans and say what makes sense, how the affordability, and what kind of services am I going to get with this particular plan, which then also meant that because you've downgraded, it also meant that we had to look at gap cover. Gap cover is the cover that then pays when your medical aid is not paying. Because you're going to end up in hospital, and then they will say, we're not paying for these services, and you really don't have the cash to pay up, and you also don't want to go into your emergency fund to pay for it. So having your plan as well as gap cover, just to make sure that you're managing your medical requirements adequately, because it just makes sense. Otherwise, you're really going to be stuck with medical bills that you really cannot afford. I think the other part then that we all know, that those gym membership and the streaming and all of those costs that you have. I've had a gym membership, I don't know for how long. And as you know, you are required to go to gym for 36 days in a month. I can't remember, something like that. But I just never went. But the gym membership just continued. So I stopped. Cancelled the gym membership and made sure that I wasn't going to be paying any penalties on it, and find different ways of exercise. And I really haven't felt I'm not missing it. Let me put it that way. I'm not missing not having gym membership, because literally I never used it. It was nice to know that I had it, but I never really used it. The other subscriptions I really didn't have to worry about. I think it's one of those issues where the families just basically said, "Oh no, don't worry, we'll cover this. So I get to enjoy some of those, but I'm not paying for them. So that for me, that made sense. So I think overall, in terms of managing your financial obligations and making sure that financially you are just trying to be not necessarily strict, but really conscious of how you're managing your finances. That's the various aspects that one has to look into and make sure you've streamlined, you've crossed the dots, and make sure that you are there. So you're going to have to make the list of what are those. You're going to look at your bills, monthly bills, and really decide exactly what am I keeping, what am I not keeping, what it means. And sometimes really you get to say, you know what, whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense, I'm still keeping this one because I want to, until you get to the stage of, okay, I'm ready to let go. Because you also don't want to get rid of everything at the same time. Then you really feel like you're being done in. So take your time, start doing things slowly until it makes sense, until you get the level of comfort of, now I'm okay to do this. Then the anxiety starts going away, and then you feel that I've got a handle on this, and I can do it. So this is my current journey as a retired professional, and I'm still going through the issue of, who am I? What is my identity? what am I supposed to do? I know that in the head, I've got plans of where am I and who I'm supposed to be. So those are the areas, those are the aspects of my life that I'm still going through, really trying to make sure that I get into grips with it, and then I start moving forward.